twin suns of planet Threxia burned red over the royal arena. Thousands of alien eyes watched in silence as a human man was dragged forward in metal cuffs. His name was Ethan Ward, a human engineer from Earth, now a prisoner of a world far beyond his reach. His face was covered in dust and blood, but his eyes were sharp, calm, and defiant. Drums made of crystal shells pounded slowly. From the grand platform above, the alien Queen Lady Varela rose from her golden throne. Her skin shimmered like silver glass, and her long white hair floated as if carried by an unseen wind. She looked regal, ancient, and powerful, a being who had seen centuries pass before her eyes. The crowd began to chant her name. Varela, the Eternal Queen, but their voices carried fear more than love. The Queen lifted her hand and silence fell like a blade. Her voice echoed smooth but cold. This human has trespassed on Threxian land. His kind destroyed the peace treaty. His punishment, his marriage. Ethan's eyes widened. Marriage? You've got to be kidding. 2 guards forced him to his knees before her. A priest, tall and insect-like, stepped forward holding 2 glowing chains. The light from them pulsed like living fire. These are the chains of union, the priest hissed. Once bound, their hearts share life and death. Ethan tried to pull free, but the guards held him firm. The Queen looked down at him, her expression unreadable. This union, she said slowly, will end the curse upon my throne, or destroy us both. Her words made the crowd murmur. The curse, a secret only whispered in fear. Every mate the Queen had ever chosen had died within days. Some said her touch carried death itself. Others said she was cursed by the gods of her ancestors. The priest placed 1 glowing chain around Ethan's wrist, and another around the Queen's slender hand. The light connected them, forming a bridge of energy. Ethan felt it burn through his skin, then rush into his heart. He gasped, clutching his chest. The priest began chanting in a strange tongue. The ground trembled. The Queen closed her eyes, and then something unexpected happened. The light shifted color, from alien blue to warm human gold. The chains vibrated, filling the air with a deep hum. The crowd gasped in shock. The priest stumbled back, shouting warnings. This is not possible. No human should survive the bond. Ethan looked up, eyes glowing faintly with the same golden light. The pain was gone. Instead, he felt warmth, strange, powerful, alive. The Queen's eyes snapped open, and for a moment he saw fear in them. The chains tightened once more, then faded into their skin, leaving behind a faint mark shaped like a burning ring. The ritual was complete. The Queen stood frozen, her voice lower now. You are bound to me, human. Ethan stood too, chest rising fast, voice steady. Then I guess you're stuck with me, Your Majesty. Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one had ever spoken to the Queen like that. Varela turned sharply, hiding a flicker of something. Was it anger or confusion? In her eyes, she motioned to her guards. Take him to the royal chambers. He is not to be harmed. As the guards led Ethan away, he looked back one last time. The Queen still stood beneath the suns, her silver gown shimmering like liquid light. But her expression was strange, haunted. In that moment, she whispered something only she could hear. He survived the chains. That night, deep within the crystal palace, the bond pulsed faintly in both their hearts. Ethan could feel her heartbeat in his chest, and she could sense his thoughts, fragments of courage, warmth, and memories of Earth. The connection was real, and it was growing stronger. As the stars burned over Threxia, 2 very different souls had been tied together by power, fate, and something deeper than either could understand. The ceremony meant to enslave him, might have just awakened something ancient, something that could change both their worlds forever. Morning light spilled through the high crystal windows of the Threxian palace. The air shimmered with silver mist as servants moved quietly along the marble halls. Inside the royal chamber, Ethan Ward sat on the edge of a soft bed that wasn't made for humans. His wrist still glowed faintly where the chain had burned its mark. Every few seconds he felt a pulse, a heartbeat that wasn't his. It was hers. Through the thin wall of energy that connected them, Ethan could feel the Queen's presence like a quiet storm. He could sense her thoughts flicker, not words, just emotions, tiredness, regret, fear. He rubbed his temples. So this is married life on an alien planet, he muttered. Great start. The door slid open with a hiss. A tall alien guard stepped in, his armor black like obsidian. The Queen summons you, he said. Ethan followed the guard through a corridor lined with glowing vines. Every alien they passed stopped and stared. Some bowed. Others whispered, covering their mouths. "That's him," they murmured. "The human who survived the curse." The hall opened into a wide garden made of glass trees and floating lights. At its center stood Lady Varela, dressed in a long silver robe. Her eyes shimmered like liquid gold as she looked at him, but there was no hatred now, only deep curiosity. "You slept well, human?" she asked, her voice calm. "I've had worse honeymoons," Ethan said, crossing his arms. "Why did you do this to me?" Her gaze dropped to the glowing mark on her hand. "You think this was my wish?" she said softly. "Every mate I have ever taken has died by this bond. My people call me immortal, but the truth, I am cursed to never keep what I love." Ethan frowned. "Then why marry me at all?" "Because you are different," she whispered. The prophecy spoke of a foreign heart, a pulse that would not break. "I hoped you would die and end my curse." She looked away, voice trembling for the first time. "But you lived." "That changes everything." Ethan stared at her. "So I'm just your test subject?" The queen didn't answer. Instead, she turned to a glowing pool where small lights swam like fish. "Do you feel it, human?" "Our bond?" she asked. "Your life beats inside me, mine inside you, even if I wished you gone. I could not." He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, it's strange. Like you're in my head sometimes." She smiled faintly. "Then you understand why I must keep you close. If you die, I die. If I die, you will follow." Her words hit him like ice. "You're saying we're trapped?" "Yes," she said simply. "Fate has chained us." Ethan sighed, looking around the strange garden. The air smelled like metal and roses. "Well, your curse picked the wrong guy to play husband." "I fix things, Your Majesty. Machines, engines, and maybe broken queens." The queen blinked as if confused by his tone. "You mock me?" "No," he said with a small smile. "Just trying to make you laugh. It's a human thing." For a moment she almost smiled. Then her expression hardened. "Your spirit is dangerous, Ethan Ward. You speak to me as an equal." "No one does that," he shrugged. "Then maybe that's what you needed all along." She turned away, pretending to study the light pool, but her golden eyes flickered. Not with anger this time, but with something she hadn't felt in centuries. Warmth. From a hidden balcony above, alien nobles watched them closely. One of them, a shadow-eyed counselor, whispered, "If the human truly broke the curse, the throne's balance will shatter." Another replied, "Then we must end him before the bond grows stronger." Down below, Ethan felt a sudden chill. Through the bond, he sensed a sharp wave of danger. The queen felt it too. And for the first time since their meeting, her voice carried urgency. "Stay close to me, human. There are those who would rather see us both dead than bound." Ethan met her eyes. "Then they'll have to go through me first." As the twin suns began to set, their heartbeats echoed in the silence of the garden. Two souls linked by fate, trapped by a curse, and watched by enemies who feared what their bond might become. The secret was no longer hers alone. And the real danger was only beginning. Days passed inside the grand palace of Threxia. The alien halls no longer echoed with fear, but with whispers about the human who had survived the cursed bond. Ethan Ward didn't understand why everyone watched him, yet he could feel the strange power moving through his veins. Every morning, the mark on his wrist glowed brighter. Whenever he touched something broken, a tool, a small flying drone, even a dying plant, it began to heal. At first he thought it was coincidence, but soon even the alien servants started bringing him broken things, and they left smiling with wonder in their glowing eyes. Ethan laughed one afternoon as a tiny alien child handed him a cracked glass sphere. "You sure this thing works?" he asked. The child nodded eagerly. He touched it, and the sphere lit up like a small star. The child gasped. "Human light," she whispered, running away to show her friends. Ethan didn't know what to make of it, but somewhere deep inside he could feel Lady Varela's heartbeat. Every time he used the bond's energy, it pulsed through him, like sharing breath with another soul. That evening, Ethan entered the royal laboratory. The walls shimmered with blue fire and tubes filled with glowing liquid. The queen stood beside a tall crystal screen, watching his every move. Her face looked softer now, less like the cold ruler he had first met. "You have been healing my people," she said quietly. He shrugged. I didn't mean to, it just happens. The queen turned, her golden eyes full of curiosity. Do you know what this means, human? For centuries, the curse made life fade around me. Flowers died. Machines rusted. Children born in the palace never survived long. But now, she pointed toward the glass vines on the wall. They were blooming, alive and bright with color. Ethan stared. Because of me? Because of your heart, she whispered. Human energy is built on emotion. You give without expecting. You fix things not for power, but for peace. He blinked, scratching his head. So, empathy is magic here? In a way, yes, she smiled faintly. You are chaos to our order, warmth to our cold light. For a long moment they stood in silence. The sound of distant music filled the room. Alien notes that rose and fell like waves. Varela stepped closer. Tell me about your world, she asked softly. Earth, Ethan smiled, remembering. It's noisy, dirty, but it's home. We have oceans that glow at night, mountains that touch the clouds, and people who fight, love, and dream, even when they shouldn't. The queen listened like a child hearing a bedtime story. You speak as if your world is alive. It is, Ethan said. And now maybe this one can be too. Later that night they walked through the garden together. The twin moons floated above them, painting the palace in silver light. The flowers he'd touched earlier now glowed softly, filling the air with sweet, strange scent. For the first time, Lady Varela looked almost human, calm, curious, and alive. You do not fear me anymore, she said, watching him. Ethan chuckled. Maybe I should. You're older, stronger, and way out of my league. She tilted her head. Out of your league? It means you're too good for me, he said with a grin. To his surprise, she laughed, a clear, beautiful sound that echoed across the garden. The alien guards nearby looked shocked. None of them had ever heard their queen laugh before. The golden light in her eyes softened. You are strange, human. No one speaks to me this way. Then maybe that's the problem, he said. Too many people treat you like a god. Maybe you just need a friend. Her smile faded slightly, replaced by something sad. Friends die when they stand too close to me. Ethan looked at her glowing hand and shook his head. Not this time, she turned to him. You cannot promise that. I just did. The wind moved gently through the glowing trees. For a moment it felt like peace. But in the shadows beyond the garden, two dark figures watched them. Members of the royal council, faces hidden behind silver masks. One whispered, the curse fades. The queen grows stronger. The other replied coldly, then the human must die before the bond completes, or the empire will kneel to a mortal. As Ethan and Varela walked beneath the twin moons, unaware of the danger watching them, the golden mark on their hands glowed brighter, as if warning them both. What neither yet knew was that the gift binding their hearts was about to draw blood. The night on Threxia was calm. Two moons floated high above the palace, casting soft blue light over the gardens. But beneath that peace, danger moved like a shadow. Ethan Ward lay awake in his chamber. The glowing mark on his wrist pulsed slowly. He could feel Lady Varela's heartbeat echoing in his chest. Calm, steady, royal. Yet tonight something felt wrong. The rhythm faltered as if a storm was forming in her heart. He sat up, alert. Varela, he whispered, though she was far away in her throne hall. Through the bond he felt her fear, sharp and sudden. Then came the noise. A faint metallic click, a door opening without sound. Ethan rolled off the bed just as a blade of blue energy slashed through the air where his head had been. Sparks flew. From the shadows, two assassins stepped forward, cloaked in dark armor, faces hidden behind mirrored masks. Their weapons hummed with alien light. By order of the High Council, one hissed. The human must die. Ethan's heart raced. He grabbed a metal staff from the wall, decorative but solid. You guys could have just knocked. The assassins lunged. Ethan swung the staff hard, blocking one strike, but the force sent him flying backward. He hit the floor, pain shooting through his ribs. The second assassin raised his blade to strike, and then stopped, trembling. A golden light flared around Ethan's body. The mark on his wrist blazed like fire. Far across the palace, Lady Varela gasped as energy surged through her chest. The bond awakened on its own. In the throne hall, the queen's eyes snapped open. He's under attack, she whispered. Without hesitation, she raised her hand and the bond responded. A golden beam shot from her palm, vanishing into the air. It traveled across the palace like lightning, reaching Ethan just as the assassins prepared their final blow. The energy burst from him like a wave. Both assassins were thrown across the room, their armor cracking under the force. Ethan stood, glowing with the same golden aura that once belonged only to her. His voice carried a strange echo, half human, half alien. "You want to kill me?" he said, stepping forward. "Then come through her power." He moved faster than he ever had before. His strikes carried energy, each hit sending shockwaves. One assassin fell. The other tried to escape, but the queen appeared in the doorway in a flash of light. Her eyes blazed. "You dare touch what is bound to me?" She raised her arm, and invisible energy lifted the assassin off the ground. His mask shattered, revealing a pale, trembling face. My queen, it was the council's order." "Then the council will answer for this," she said coldly. With a flick of her wrist, she sent the traitor crashing into the wall. He collapsed motionless. Ethan leaned on the staff, breathing hard. The glow faded from his body, and he dropped to one knee. "Remind me," he panted, "is this normal for your people's marriage life?" The queen turned to him, her anger fading into concern. She knelt beside him. "You're hurt." "Just tired," he said, giving a weak smile. "But I think I just broke one of your palace walls." She placed her glowing hand on his chest. Warmth spread through him. The wounds began to close. Her power healed him faster than he could believe. "You risked your life," she whispered. "You could have died." He looked at her softly. "So could you. But you came anyway." Their eyes met, golden light flickering between them. For a brief moment, everything else, the palace, the assassins, the curse, vanished. There was only them. Then she looked away, standing tall again. "The council fears you," she said. "They will not stop. This bond is growing stronger, too strong. Even I can no longer control it." Ethan rose, his voice firm. "Then we control it together." The queen turned to him slowly, her silver hair catching the moonlight. "Together?" she repeated, as if the word felt strange on her tongue. He nodded. "That's how humans do it. We face things side by side." For the first time, she didn't argue. Instead, she looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not just curiosity or duty, but trust outside the shattered window. The two moons reflected in the glass pools below, shining like twin hearts in the night. The curse that had once doomed every bond now glowed with hope. But in the darkness of the city below, the council gathered their armies. The real war for the throne, and for their bond, was about to begin. Years passed. The war ended. The name Ethan Ward became a legend. Across the stars, people whispered the same story. The human who broke the curse, the man who turned light into life. And at the center of those tales stood Lady Varela, the queen who had once ruled with fear but now walked her world as something greater. Not a ruler, but a guardian. She no longer wore a crown. Her throne room was gone. The palace that once glittered with pride now stood open to the wind, turned into a sanctuary for the weak and wounded. Children played where soldiers once stood guard. The air was warm, alive again, filled with color and laughter. Every evening, when the twin suns met on the horizon, Varela walked alone to the crystal temple, the place where Ethan's light had vanished. The temple glowed softly now, like a heartbeat under the stone. She would place her hand on the glass and whisper, "Still fixing things, aren't you, my human?" The people loved her differently now. They called her the queen without a crown. Her hair, once silver, now shimmered with faint gold, a trace of the human light she carried. Her eyes were warm, no longer cold or distant. When she smiled, even the flowers leaned toward her. But peace didn't erase the ache in her heart. She still felt him, faintly through the bond that refused to die. Sometimes when she closed her eyes, she could hear his laughter or feel his courage. It comforted her. It reminded her that even across worlds, love was never wasted. One night, a great storm swept across Threxia. Lightning flashed over the temple. Varela rushed there as the sky turned crimson. The crystal at the center pulsed wildly, brighter than ever before. "What's happening?" she whispered, shielding her face from the light. The temple floor cracked, and the air filled with golden dust. The crystal heart, the one that had once taken Ethan's life, began to change. Inside it, a shape formed, small, fragile, breathing. Varela froze, tears filling her eyes. The light faded, leaving behind a child. A little girl, with glowing skin like hers, but eyes. Human eyes. Blue and kind. The child looked up, trembling. Mother? She whispered. Virella fell to her knees, her voice breaking. Yes, my child. I am here. She held the girl close, feeling her heartbeat. Steady, warm, alive. Inside that small chest was the echo of another heart she knew too well. Ethan's. As the storm cleared, a golden dawn rose over the land. The people gathered outside the temple and saw their queen holding the child in her arms. A hush fell over them. The curse is gone, someone whispered. No, said Virella softly, looking up at the rising light. It was never a curse, it was a lesson. She stood tall, her eyes glowing like the sunrise. The universe tried to teach us that power without love brings only silence. A single human heart proved it wrong. Compassion, that is the true light. The crowd bowed, not out of fear, but out of love. Virella smiled and looked down at her daughter. A living bridge between two species, two worlds. He once told me light never dies, she said softly. Now I understand. It just finds a new way to shine. That night she sat with the child beneath the stars, the twin moons reflected in her eyes. Your father, she whispered, was not a king. He was a human, brave, foolish, and full of hope. And because of him, our worlds are no longer strangers. The little girl smiled sleepily. Will I meet him someday? Virella touched her chest gently. You already carry him here. The child placed her hand over her heart and nodded. Then I'll never be alone. Virella looked up at the sky where countless stars burned bright, each one glowing with the same golden hue as the mark still faintly shining on her hand. She whispered to the heavens, Rest, my human. Your light will never fade. Moral message. Ending. True love doesn't ask for time, form, or power. It simply gives, and through giving, it becomes eternal. Even across stars, even between species, love can change the fate of worlds. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The human broke the curse. The queen protects the outlander. Every planet under Threxian rule whispered the same question. What happens when the immortal queen chooses a mortal heart? The palace no longer felt safe. The High Council had declared Lady Virella unfit to rule. They accused her of corruption, of letting human influence infect the Empire's sacred bloodline. Ships gathered in orbit, their engines glowing red. War drums thundered again after 1,000 years of silence. Inside the palace, Ethan Ward stood beside the Queen in the war chamber. Holograms flickered around them, showing the fleet closing in. He looked at the glowing map, then at her calm face. So, he said softly, your own people are coming for you. For us, she corrected, voice steady. They believe I am no longer their queen. They believe I am yours. He almost smiled, but her eyes were heavy with sorrow. If you stay, they'll kill you, he said. She looked at him, the golden mark on her hand pulsing faintly. If I run, they'll burn my worlds. Millions will die because of me. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we don't run. We fix this. That night the palace trembled as ships descended through the clouds. Thunder rolled across the horizon. Inside her throne room, Virella faced the council's envoys. They stood tall in silver armor, their voices sharp and cold. You are no longer our queen, one declared. You've tainted the throne with alien blood. Ethan stepped forward before she could speak. Funny, he said, from where I stand, she looks more alive than any of you. The envoy's eyes flashed with rage. Human, you have no right to. The queen raised her hand, stopping him. He speaks with my right, she said. And my heart. The hall fell silent. She turned to the gathered nobles. For centuries I ruled with fear. You called me eternal, yet I was chained by my curse. Now for the first time I feel life again. If that makes me unfit, then I release my crown. Gasps filled the chamber. Her crown floated from her head, dissolving into golden dust. Ethan stared at her. You don't have to do this. I must, she said softly. If the bond between us brings war, then I will not let others die for it. She took his hand and light spread between them. The chains of their bond shimmered, No longer symbols of curse, but of choice. Where will we go? Ethan asked. Anywhere but here, she said. A place where no one calls us monsters. They turned and walked out together. Behind them, the palace cracked with thunder as the council ordered their soldiers to fire. Hours later, an old warship lifted off from a secret dock beneath the sea. Its engines roared as it broke through the storm clouds, rising toward the stars. Ethan stood at the control deck, hands steady on the glowing panels. Engine stable, he said. She may be ancient, but she's still got fight. Varela looked out the viewport, her silver hair glowing in the soft light. This ship once carried me to war, she murmured. Now it carries me to peace, Ethan smiled faintly. Guess even queens need a second chance. Their eyes met. Two beings from different worlds, bound not by force but by choice. Outside, the stars stretched wide and endless, but far behind them a massive fleet followed. The council's flagship glowed red, its commander snarling. Do not let them escape. The queen must die, and the human with her. As the chase began through the glowing nebulae, the bond between Ethan and Varela pulsed brighter. Through it, they could sense each other completely. Fear, strength, hope. You can still leave me, she said quietly. You owe me nothing. He shook his head. You're wrong. I owe you everything. You taught me what love means when it has no time, no rules, no species. She looked at him, eyes full of emotion. Love? She repeated softly, as if the word felt both strange and sacred. He nodded. That's what humans call it. In the distance, the first laser beams crossed the void, lighting the stars with fire. But inside the old warship, two hearts beat as one, defying an empire, rewriting destiny itself. For the first time in centuries, the Queen wasn't fighting to survive. She was fighting for something far greater, a future worth living for. The stars burned red as the old warship cut through space. Its engines coughed and trembled, leaving trails of golden sparks behind. Ethan Ward worked fast at the control panels, sweat shining on his forehead. Warning lights flashed everywhere. We're hit again, he said. Shields are down to 30%. Beside him, Lady Varela stood calm but pale. The chase had lasted for days. The council fleet was relentless. Hundreds of ships surrounded them now, firing from all sides. The next volley will destroy us, Ethan said. Then we end this, she replied softly. Her hand rested on the glass heart of the ship's power core. There is one place they cannot follow, my ancestors' temple. The source of the curse. The place where all began. Ethan looked at her, eyes narrowing. You mean the moon you told me about? The one that kills anyone who enters? She nodded slowly. Yes, but the bond may protect us now. It is the only way to break the curse forever. He smiled tiredly. Well, I've always wanted to visit a haunted moon with my wife. Varela blinked, surprised by the word wife. She looked away quickly, hiding a small smile. Then prepare the descent. The ship plunged into hyperspace. Light twisted and roared around them. When they emerged, the stars were gone. In their place floated a dead moon, gray, cracked, and silent. It glowed faintly from a single golden temple built into its surface. As they landed, the engines died completely. The silence was deep enough to hurt. Ethan stepped out first, the dust crunching under his boots. The air shimmered faintly with energy. He looked up at the temple's gate. Giant doors carved with alien symbols and human-like figures holding light between their hands. Varela walked beside him, her robe glowing in the darkness. This is where I was made immortal, she said. Where my curse was born. Inside the temple was filled with old machines and part stone, part living metal. At its center stood a massive crystal pulsing faintly. It looked almost alive, like a heart too tired to beat. Ethan moved closer. This is the source? Yes, she said quietly. Every ruler of Threxia merged with it, binding their life to the empire. I broke the cycle once. The curse punished me for it. He touched the crystal. And if we fix it? She looked at him with fear in her golden eyes. It will cost you. The bond feeds on life. It may take yours to heal me. He smiled faintly. Guess that's what husbands are for. No, she said sharply, grabbing his wrist. You don't understand. If you die, I die too. Maybe, he said gently. But maybe it's time we stop living halfway. Before she could stop him, Ethan placed both hands on the crystal. The bond mark on his skin blazed gold. Light exploded through the room, swirling around them like a storm. The machines awoke, humming with power that hadn't moved in centuries. Varela screamed as the energy surged into her body. Her veins glowed, her hair turned brighter, and the years began to peel away from her face. Her body grew younger, her strength returning, but Ethan's was fading. "Ethan, stop!" she cried, grabbing his shoulders. His skin shimmered like light itself, his body weakening. He smiled weakly. "Told you. I fixed things, you foolish human," she whispered, tears glowing on her cheeks. "You were supposed to live." "I am," he said softly, his voice fading. "In you?" The light grew brighter, blinding. For one last moment she felt his hand tighten around hers, then it vanished, leaving only warmth. The crystal heart stopped shaking. The curse broke with a sound like distant thunder. The golden glow filled the temple, spreading out across the moon, then into the stars beyond. Varela fell to her knees, holding the space where he had stood. Her tears hit the floor, turning into sparks. "Ethan," she whispered, "you were the light I never deserved." Outside, the council fleet stopped firing. Every ship's system flickered, then went silent. The storm of light passed through them harmlessly, leaving peace behind. In the silence that followed, a new dawn rose over Threxia. The curse was gone. The queen was reborn, but Ethan was gone too. His body turned into pure energy, fused with the temple's heart. Varela placed her hand on the glowing crystal, feeling the faint rhythm within it. A heartbeat. His heartbeat, and she smiled through her tears. "Even light doesn't die," she whispered. "It only changes form."